Hello. Welcome to the channel. Today, we will talk about a philosophy that has helped thousands of people maintain inner peace and calm in the most challenging situations. Have you ever felt like the world around you is becoming louder, more chaotic, and more tense? Work tasks, personal problems, worries, all of this overwhelms us, and we lose control. Stress and anxiety become the norm, and it seems impossible to escape this cycle. But what if I told you that there is a way that could change your life? A way to learn how to stay calm and confident despite any external chaos. Stoicism is a philosophy that has existed for over 2,000 years but remains relevant today. There are no empty promises or quick fixes in it. It is not just another trend or fashion. Stoicism is a practical philosophy that teaches us how to be strong in the face of constant difficulties, how to maintain inner peace and not succumb to external distractions. It's not just a theory, it's an approach that has stood the test of time in the lives of great people like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus. You've probably already encountered situations where it seemed like you couldn't handle your inner turmoil or stress. In such moments, everything feels like it's falling apart. External circumstances dictate their rules to you, and you lose the ability to stay calm. But what if I told you that you can actually control your reaction to these events? What if you can learn to manage your emotions without letting external factors affect your state? Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the world around us. We cannot control how other people behave or how events unfold. But we always have control over ourselves, over how we perceive what's happening and how we react to it. We can choose how to perceive pain, offense, stress. We can learn to see difficulties not as threats but as opportunities for growth. This does not mean we should be emotionless or insensitive. On the contrary, Stoicism teaches us to accept our emotions but not let them control our lives. Today, you will learn 5 Stoic principles that will help you deal with any difficulties, maintain inner balance, and become stronger in any situation. We will talk about how to accept what cannot be controlled, how to work on yourself every day, how to live in the present moment, how to accept difficulties as part of life, and finally, how to manage your emotions so they don't manage you. Are you ready to change your life? Let's begin our journey into the world of Stoicism, which will help you become not just stronger, but wiser. After all, resilience is not just about coping with difficulties. It's about living in harmony with yourself and the world around you. The first and perhaps most important principle of Stoicism is the recognition that we cannot control everything that happens around us. Have you ever tried to control circumstances or the behavior of others, only to end up feeling disappointed and exhausted? How many times have you lost your strength and nerves trying to change what is completely beyond your control? This happens to all of us. But what if I told you that this cycle can be broken? Stoicism teaches us to free ourselves from these illusions of control. And, when you realize that there are things beyond your influence, you gain freedom. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoics, wrote in his Meditations, "Life is not about what happens to us, but about how we react to it." This thought permeates all of Stoicism's teachings. In the end, we cannot control external events, not the weather, not the actions of others, nor even global events. But we can always control one thing: our reaction to these events. Stoics teach us to accept what cannot be changed and to focus on what we can truly control. You've probably encountered situations where you couldn't influence the course of events. For example, you were late for an important meeting due to traffic. You couldn't change the situation, and frustration only increased the stress. But what if you viewed this situation as something you cannot control? Instead of getting angry, you could calmly accept what's happening and use that time to calm down or prepare for the meeting. This is an example of how Stoicism helps us change our perception and make our lives more balanced. It takes strength of spirit and practice, but it is through accepting what we cannot change that true freedom comes. Stoics said, "Do not worry about what you cannot control." And while this may seem simple at first glance, it is one of the most powerful principles. Because when you begin to let go of control over what is beyond your power, you free up space to focus on what is truly important, on what is in your hands. But how can you apply this in practice? Start by paying attention every day to what you are trying to control and what you are not. For example, you cannot control how others feel about you or how they behave. You cannot change the weather or the outcome of elections. But you can always control how you react to these things. If someone speaks to you rudely, you can choose to hold it inside and suffer, or calmly accept it as someone else's problem and not let it affect your inner world. Accepting what we cannot control is not a call to inaction or passivity. It does not mean you should tolerate injustice or improper behavior from others. It means that you can consciously choose your reaction. You can be calm and confident, knowing that you control only your perception, your thoughts, and your feelings. This frees you from stress and makes you stronger because you stop fighting with what cannot be changed. Stoicism teaches us that the path to inner peace begins with accepting what you cannot change. Difficulties are not the end of the world. They are an opportunity to learn how to be strong in moments when life throws challenges at us. The external world may change, but if you learn to control your reaction, you will remain unshakable in any storm. And the more you practice this principle, the more you will feel how it begins to work for you. The second principle of Stoicism is the constant work on oneself. Stoics teach us that self-improvement never ends. It's not just ambition or striving for perfection, it's a daily practice based on the desire to become the best version of oneself. In fact, self-improvement is an endless process that never stops. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoics, said, "Life is not too short, we waste too much of it." He emphasized that time is our most valuable resource, and we must use it wisely. And one of the most important areas to direct this time is personal development. It doesn't matter how old you are or what experience you have. We all have the opportunity to work on ourselves every day. This doesn't mean we must strive for perfection. On the contrary, Stoics taught that the ideal is unattainable, but each day gives us a chance to become a little better than yesterday. So how do we work on ourselves so that it brings real results? It all starts with the understanding that development is not an instant victory but a gradual process. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and great Stoic, often wrote about how important it is to take each day as a new chance to become better. He said, "Today, you have the chance to become the person you want to be. You can change your attitude, your actions, your reaction to events. All of this is in your hands." So what does Stoicism do for us in terms of self-development? It's a philosophy that helps us identify our weaknesses, direct efforts to improve them, and at the same time not lose confidence in ourselves. Stoics teach us not to fear our shortcomings, but rather to work with them, transforming them into opportunities for growth. The first step on the path to self-improvement is acknowledging your own weaknesses and limitations. Stoics teach us that being honest with ourselves is the foundation for any change. It's not always pleasant, but it's exactly the awareness that we can become better that gives us the strength to take action. Recognizing your flaws is not a weakness but a strength, because only by acknowledging what can be improved can we begin to change. On the one hand, it may be frightening to recognize our weaknesses. But on the other hand, it is this awareness that provides an opportunity to work on ourselves. Seneca said, "Never say that you cannot change something. You can change everything that is within your power." But what does this constant work involve? First of all, it's daily habits and actions. Stoics emphasize the importance of daily discipline. For example, Marcus Aurelius began his day with reflections and planning, seeking ways to be useful to others and himself. We often think that growth is something epic, that we need to work on ourselves for hours and days, but in reality, it all boils down to small steps every day. Try starting your day with a small practice that becomes your personal habit. It can be meditation, a morning journal, reflecting on your actions and goals. Anything that helps you set yourself up for a productive and mindful day. Self-improvement doesn't require grand steps, but it does require consistency. Stoics taught that it's important not only to strive for the big but to act with small things. One of the principles that Epictetus often repeated goes like this: you cannot change events, but you can change your attitude toward them. This helps us understand that we can be better not only through physical improvement but also through improving our perception, improving our reaction to external factors. Sometimes we just need to stop and think. It doesn't have to be complete peace, but it's important to set aside time for self-reflection. Stoics taught us that we shouldn't let the external world pull us away from our inner state. Sometimes, just a few minutes of deep reflection can change the course of your day. Each day can be a new step on the path to a better self. Stoics also teach us the importance of a long-term vision. Self-improvement is not an instant process. It requires patience and time. But it is the constant effort, even in small doses, that bears fruit. As Seneca wrote, "Don't try to be perfect, strive to be the best version of yourself." Stoicism gives us the key to this path, the key to self-improvement through awareness, discipline, and daily actions. The third principle of Stoicism is to live in the present. In our world, full of noise and constant rush, we often forget that real life happens right here and now. Stoics taught us that the future and the past are not what should occupy our minds. We often worry about what will happen tomorrow or get stuck in regrets about what happened yesterday. But Stoicism teaches us to be in the moment and appreciate every minute. As Epictetus said, "It doesn't matter what happens to us, what matters is how we perceive it." This thought permeates all Stoic teachings. Ask yourself, how much time do you spend in the future or the past, thinking about what could have been or what was, without appreciating the present moment? We live in a world where all our energy is often spent on worries and regrets. We worry about what will happen to us in the future, or we dwell on our mistakes and missed opportunities in the past. But what if we start living here and now? Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic and Roman emperor, wrote, "Do not let yourself drown in thoughts about what will be. The present is your reality, and in it, you can act." This teaching is as simple as it is powerful. We all know how easy it is to get lost in thoughts about the future, about what may happen, and what we fear. We think about how everything could go wrong, how things might not go as planned. But all these worries don't lead to action and don't help us control the situation. Instead, they distract us from what truly matters, what we can do right now. What if you stop worrying about what will happen and start appreciating what you have right now? Stoics teach us to practice mindfulness in every moment. Paying attention to the present moment doesn't mean ignoring the future or forgetting the past. It means being in the moment, understanding what is happening to us right now, and acting based on that awareness. This may not be as easy as it sounds. We are used to the idea that we must constantly think about the future, make plans, and worry about what will happen. But if we don't learn to be in the moment, we'll miss out on real life. Stoics offer us meditation and reflection as ways to return to the present. These can be simple moments, like a mindful walk, where you focus on every step and sensation. Or, for example, lunch, when you appreciate the taste of food, the smells, and textures, without distracting yourself with other thoughts. Stoic meditation is a practice that allows us to consciously experience every moment. You don't need to do it for long or make it complicated. It can be just a few minutes a day, when you sit in silence, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing, body sensations, and the sounds around you. This simple act helps you return to yourself and remember that you live here and now. It helps break the habit of worrying about the future or regretting the past. You start being more aware of your state and the world around you. When we begin to live in the present, we also learn to appreciate things that usually go unnoticed. Stoics taught us that every event, even the smallest one, can be a source of awareness. You can wake up in the morning, feel the sunlight on your face, and be grateful for this moment. You can rejoice in simple things, fresh air, the sound of rain, the smile of another person. When you focus on the present, you notice how much beauty and peace there is in every moment. Every moment is a chance to live in harmony with yourself and the world around you. Stoics say, everything you need for happiness is already here. This doesn't mean you should reject dreams and goals. It means that your happiness and harmony do not depend on what will be, but on how you perceive the present moment. After all, it is in the present that you live. Practice this principle every day. Try to start your day by realizing that you are living in this moment. Notice what's happening around you, don't rush, don't try to think too far into the future. Being in the present means being at peace with yourself and those around you. This may be one of the most powerful principles of Stoicism, helping us live a full and mindful life. The fourth principle of Stoicism is accepting difficulties as an integral part of life. In our world, full of obstacles and challenging situations, we often try to avoid problems or even fear them. But what if I told you that all the difficulties we encounter on our path are actually opportunities? Stoics taught us that every difficulty is a chance to become stronger, smarter, wiser. Difficulties are not in the way of happiness, they are part of the path itself. As Seneca said, difficulties are not something to fear, but an opportunity to become better. Stoics teach us that life is not the absence of difficulties. On the contrary, difficulties are inevitable. No matter how hard we try, no matter how well we plan, they will appear again and again. And instead of fighting them or trying to avoid them, we must accept them as a given. Imagine life as a mountain trail we walk along. The path won't be straight and easy. There will be rocks, steep ascents, rain, and winds. But it is these obstacles that help us become more resilient. Without them, the path would be dull and straight, but it would lack meaning and strength. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have the right to be disappointed only if you expected everything to be perfect." This is true. If we expect life to be easy and problem-free, every encounter with difficulty will be seen as something negative. But when we begin to understand that difficulties are part of life, we stop fearing them. We start seeing them as opportunities for growth, as chances to become more determined and wise. It is through difficulties that we find our strength. Stoics taught us that it is not external circumstances, but how we react to them, that defines our character. Problems, stressful situations, failures, all of these are unavoidable, but we can learn how to react to them properly. A situation may be difficult, but it does not define us. How we react, how we deal with difficulty, reveals our character. Think about the last time you faced a difficulty. How did you react to it? Did you worry, get upset, and fall into despair? Or did you accept it as an inevitable part of the path and start looking for an opportunity to improve? For example, if you're going through a tough period at work, you can perceive it as stress and frustration, or you can use this time to develop patience, improve your professional skills, or learn to manage time and emotions. It all depends on how you perceive the situation. Stoics teach us that it's important to find meaning in what happens to us. If we face hard work, a difficult project, or task, Stoics say, use this moment for growth. This means that difficulties are not just something to overcome, but an opportunity to become better. When we face problems, we begin to develop important qualities: patience, resilience, and endurance. Another important point, difficulties are not always something negative. Often, in tough situations, we discover hidden strengths and abilities within ourselves. Remember how difficult it was to learn to ride a bike or swim when you were a child. How many falls and failures did you face on that path? But it was precisely through those falls that you learned how to keep moving forward. Just like in life, through failures and obstacles, we uncover new abilities and develop confidence in ourselves. When we understand that difficulties are an inevitable part of life, we stop fearing them. We start using them as fuel for growth. Stoics teach us that every time we face a problem, we have two choices: give up or keep moving forward. And if we keep moving forward, we only grow stronger. The fifth principle of Stoicism is the management of our emotions. Stoics teach us that while we cannot control everything that happens in our lives, we can always control how we respond to it. Emotions are a natural part of human life, and they won't disappear. But what makes us Stoics is the ability to manage these emotions rather than letting them control us. Let's break down what this means in practice. When we experience strong emotions like anger, frustration, or anxiety, it often feels like there's nothing we can do about it. It seems like these emotions take over and control our actions. But Stoics argue that we can always choose how to respond. As Epictetus said, it is not events themselves that make us happy or unhappy, but our reaction to them. This key idea is the foundation of Stoicism. Ask yourself, how often do you let emotions dictate your behavior? When someone criticizes you, do you get angry? When things don't go as planned, do you worry and lose confidence? These reactions are natural, but they can also be destructive if we don't recognize them in time. Stoics taught that we can learn to recognize our emotions, not let them dictate our lives, and choose how to respond. This means that when an emotion arises, instead of reacting automatically, we give ourselves a pause to understand its source. Stoics offer a technique that helps us manage our emotions. It's called reflection before reaction. Every time you experience a strong emotion, like anger or anxiety, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what caused this emotion? Why do I feel the way I feel? What response can I choose in reaction to this emotion? This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means acknowledging them, accepting them, and choosing the most wise and productive behavior. When we learn to manage our emotions, we don't suppress them, we direct them in the right way. Stoics taught us that emotions shouldn't rule us. We are the masters of our feelings. Strong emotions can be very useful if we know how to channel them. For example, if you feel anger, you can channel it into solving the problem rather than destroying relationships. If you feel anxiety, you can use it as a signal to prepare and analyze the situation, rather than panicking. Seneca also said, "No one can make you unhappy without your consent." This means that emotions are our perception, and we can always choose how to perceive what's happening. For example, if you receive criticism from a colleague, you can get upset and angry, or you can see it as an opportunity for growth, a chance to become better. You can decide that the opinion of someone who doesn't matter to your inner world won't affect you. To better manage our emotions, it's important to regularly practice mindfulness and self-reflection. For example, in the morning or evening, spend a few minutes reflecting on what happened throughout the day. How did you react to different situations? What triggered strong emotions in you? How could you have changed your reaction? This helps to recognize your habitual responses and find ways to make them more balanced. Emotions are not enemies. They are signals that show us what's happening inside us. But it's important to remember that we don't have to let emotions control our actions. We can choose how to respond to any external circumstances. This principle allows us to become not only wise but also strong. We become the masters of our emotions, not their slaves. Remember, Stoicism doesn't say to be emotionless. It's a philosophy that teaches us to understand what we feel and direct those feelings in ways that benefit us. Emotions are part of our nature, and if we learn to recognize and control them, we can achieve an inner calm that doesn't depend on external circumstances. So, we've covered the 5 key principles of Stoicism that can change your life. We talked about how important it is to accept what can't be controlled, how to work on yourself every day, how to live in the present moment, how to see difficulties as opportunities for growth, and how to manage your emotions so they don't control you. But all of this is just the beginning. Stoicism teaches us that philosophy is not theoretical knowledge, but a practical guide for life. And now that you understand the basic principles, your task is to start applying them in your life, day by day. There's no point in just reading about these principles or listening to them. For them to work, they need to be integrated into your daily practice. You can start small, choose one principle and begin practicing it every day. Be mindful of your reactions to external circumstances. Work on yourself every day, even if it's just small steps. Notice how you react to difficulties and use them as an opportunity for growth. And most importantly, live in the present, appreciating every moment of your life. Stoicism is not an ideology to study, it's a philosophy for living. By adopting it as a foundation, you will be able to handle any difficulties, maintain your inner balance, and become a person who always remains true to themselves, no matter the circumstances. So don't put it off. Start practicing Stoicism right now. And remember, your strength is in your reaction. You can only control one thing: how you perceive the world around you. Everything else is just an illusion. Thank you for watching this video. Share your thoughts in the comments, like the video if it was helpful, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. See you in the next video.